Good morning. Welcome to First Baptist Church. This is the fourth week of mental health in the church here at First Baptist, and I am the fourth speaker in that series. And my name is Dwayne Price. I worked for the Department of Correctional Services for the last 34 years in downtown Waterloo. Prior to that, I worked at the Iowa State Training School for boys. It's been quite an experience to work with individuals with mental health issues. Originally, when I started training school 35 plus years ago, I had no idea that's what I was getting myself into. The cottage that I was assigned to was Cottage 8, and that was the catch-all or the catch basin for all of the kids from the state of Iowa that had mental health issues. On a daily basis, you would have a nurse come by in the morning, in the afternoon, or at night, depending on what was the location of all of our youth that was in that cottage, and she would either give them a shot or give them medication. I didn't pay very much attention to it. I was fresh out of college, and I had very little understanding of what that was all about. But as time went along there, then I got a better understanding of what was happening with it. Meaning I transitioned from the Iowa State Training School to the Department of Corrections here in the Waterloo area, and just thought I was just a regular residential advisor in the work release center. You see different people with different issues, and you just figure that they're having a bad day. That's just how they are. It's way more than that. It was way more than that, and took me probably about a year to start figuring that out. So with that, I want to talk about mental health in corrections or community-based corrections. That's a big misnomer when the office manager here asked me to talk about mental health in corrections there, and it's like there's not very much mental health in corrections because of budgetary constraints. In the institution, they do not have the funding to allocate the type of medication these individuals would need while they're in the institution. So a lot of times they go unmedicated. If they say that they don't want medication when they're in prison, they don't insist that they take medication while they're in prison. Ergo, you have behavioral problems. You have guys that isolate inside cells for the whole day unless they have an assignment outside of out of their cell unit. It's kind of a strange thing. And then as they become closer towards reintegrating into the community, you might have a counselor that is sharp enough there to recognize exactly what the problem, what their issues are, and then they would start to communicate with someone out in the community to be able to start getting some services in place there for them to be able to receive some mental health services in the community. But for the most part, most individuals that are under the auspices of the Department of Corrections don't take their medication on a regular basis, don't receive mental health services on a regular basis, and it's a revolving door for them. We would be better served if we spend a little bit more time with individuals to see that they receive their mental health services, their physical health services, to be able to give them a better quality of life, and that's kind of where I come in at. So kind of going back to the beginning of my career, or probably the second full year of my career up here in Waterloo, which was 1988, I was part of a meeting where my supervisor and the manager of all the facilities up here in Waterloo told us that there was approximately 367 individuals that would be coming out in the community in the next year, which would have been 88, 89, that had serious mental health problems there. And we kind of asked, it's like, well, what are you talking about? And it's like, well, there's been a defunding of the mental health services, meaning MHI Clarinda, MHI Woodward, MHI Independence, and also in the Department of Corrections. They would be sending these individuals out in the community, so we would start seeing more of these individuals. And it's like, well, if they are discharging these individuals from the prison setting and from these MHIs, where's their funding going? It's like, well, the state's going to save money by not necessarily funding them, and they'll have to just find their way. So, lo and behold, probably maybe that was like April of May or something like that. But by July, we started to see these individuals, and what we were seeing was individuals coming to the community that were unmedicated, didn't have any kind of family support because they maybe had burned so many bridges there with their families, with their erratic behavior, and that door started to revolve pretty good. And as time went on, from the 80s to the early 90s, coupled with your drug epidemics, throughout the state, the crack epidemic, the meth epidemic, those numbers increased at a high rate. I mean, we went probably from, like I said, somewhere about between 350 and 400 people that first year, and that number kept increasing. At the same time, we didn't have the type of services that could track these individuals because they don't keep appointments. A lot of people don't keep appointments. You have everybody in the room here, everybody has something that's going on with them. We ignore it. We ignore our diabetes. We ignore our heart conditions. Mental health is just another condition that people suffer from, and then that could come on at any time, just like diabetes comes on any time, and heart disease, and brain aneurysms. We can't ignore that, but those things come on at any time, and people tend to ignore their physical condition there, which is probably not necessarily the thing to do, so it exacerbates things. It makes things way more expensive than they need to be. Emergency room visits skyrocketed at that point. The opening of, or the explosion of residential care facilities. When I say residential care facilities, Country View used to be a residential care facility for individuals that might have some mental illness. That population stayed high. There's facilities that opened up in most counties around the state. All 99 counties had a county home, and a certain population of that county home was specifically for individuals that had mental health issues. Otherwise, they were for people that had brain injuries, or were just indigent and they lived within it. So you had a hodgepodge system throughout the state of Iowa that kind of tried to come in and tried to take care of some of those problems there. But when I say that, I want to say this: a lot of those facilities would not take individuals that had criminal histories. They wouldn't take a chance on those individuals because they were scared to deal with them, even though they're right out in the community. They live next door to you. They live down the street from you. You come across them all the time. So I became part of a mental health unit that tried to break some of those barriers down there. I started working with different stakeholders within the communities, these different residential care facilities on the east side of I-35, all the way down to the Missouri border, all the way up to the Wisconsin border and to the Illinois border, communicating with these guys there to see if there was a way that we could partner, if they were able to provide the type of services that these individuals needed there to give them a better quality of life. And when I say that, a stable home, stable medication, regular visits with doctors, taking the medication on a regular basis, and then I guess I would say the key to all of that is programming. When I say programming, that would be cognitive skills or things that they might have learned when they were young individuals that would help them be able to function within the community if they took their medication once they became stable. So that's just kind of the beginnings of my career. And I kind of want to go into some of the things that get or help those individuals get to that point. We all experience trauma in life. People have mental health issues or develop mental health issues because of different events in our life. One of the most biggest events that takes place that seems like it helps speed this along there is trauma. We all have trauma in our life there. Either it's a death of a family member, assault, sexual assault, you name it. Could be as little as losing a job and becoming homeless. That's a traumatic event for a lot of people. But recognizing those things there and trying to help individuals deal with those things there is a different situation. And a lot of us people in corrections at the time that I came along there or before that, you see an individual have something like that happen and it's like, well, that person ought to be able to snap out of it like me and should be able to be successful in the community and do what they need to do and go out and get a job. It's not that simple. You have these events happen. When you have trauma happen, usually at the same time their anxiety sets in there, and there's the anxiety of not getting a job. The what ifs kind of roll into your life there of what if I don't get a job? What if I don't pay my bills? What if this landlord puts me out? That coupled with not getting the treatment that you need kind of makes things snowball. Anybody in here not had a death in their family that kind of put them in a depressed mode? I mean, I think everyone has had that. Some people bounce back a lot easier than other people there, but we all suffer from depression. But like I said, recognizing that and getting help for that or talking with somebody about that is there's a big difference in that happening and not happening. I can think of even myself there. I see death all the time. I've had lots of deaths in my family. I guess probably about 25, 26 years ago, or well, I wasn't quite that one, about 23, 24 years ago, my brother passed away. And I never thought that I would be in a depressive state. But you just kind of go through the motions, taking care of different things in life. You do the best you can there, and hopefully you snap out of it there. But I mean, sometimes you don't there. You don't function as well as you need to. I'm just a regular guy. I'm a regular guy that hasn't run afoul of the law. And then you talk about a guy that, or a lady that runs afoul of the law. You have all of these social issues going on in your life, and then you run afoul of the law. I mean, that's pretty tough. It's pretty tough for those individuals to be able to get things figured out without a little bit of help there. So, and like I said, that's where I come in at. I try to make sure that I lead the individuals that are under my care. And there's a mental health unit. There's about 4 specialized mental health probation parole officers. We try to lead individuals to that counseling, make sure they keep their appointments, take their medications the way they need to, and adjust their medications if those things are not working. If those things are not necessarily working the way they're supposed to, usually we have to step up their level of care on the continuum of level of care. And I would probably take that individual to court and see if I can get a judge there to order them to be at a residential care facility, which would give those individuals those kind of things there to kind of give them a reset there, where they would have a safety umbrella of having stable housing, being able to eat healthy. Like I said, having the doctor see them on a regular basis there to make sure that it's not doing damage to their body. And then we would transition those individuals back out within the community. And I could even think in my neighborhood, there is 3 EPI houses. Anyone knows the goal or the service or that EPI or Goodwill or Full Circle do here in the community at all? Anybody heard of those agencies? Yes. Those agencies take individuals that can't manage on them themselves there, and they just make sure that they get those services there. They have them in group homes. Their group homes, like I said, they could be next door, they could be around the corner from you. They're just dotted throughout the community, and they're really beneficial agencies or beneficial services that are provided to help those individuals stay in the community rather than sleeping under the bridge in downtown Waterloo or at the bus station or something along those lines there. So depression and PTSD kind of go hand in hand together. Post-traumatic stress syndrome, like I said, is one of those things that comes out of anxiety or depression, or a traumatic situation that kind of puts you in a tailspin there, but with counseling and with treatment there, you can sometimes bounce back from that. But the resources that I use in the community heavily is Blackhawk Grundy Mental Health. We had Tom Ekus here last week. I've worked with Tom for the last 25 years on trying to truncate those services and trying to work with him and his agency and the individuals there to better help them to make sure that they have a high rate of success when individuals are supposed to keep appointments and are following their medication regimen. At the same time, if I do that, that helps him. At the same time that he's providing those services, it's helping me. It's helping those guys become successful so they can reside back in the community. I spent a lot of time on the first floor at Allen Hospital, because that's where the mental health ward is, and at Mercy One on the 5th floor. I kind of prefer to work with Allen. They communicate very well with us down at Corrections to try to work with us to have a plan for that individual who might come into the mental health center that's having a crisis, and just to try to get them a reset, you know. Mercy One is not as easy to work with. They don't like to communicate with us for whatever reason. You know, there's such a thing called the Ed Thomas Law. The Ed Thomas Law came in probably 14 years ago. Mercy One didn't communicate with us when they had a dangerous individual that was homicidal, and he kind of was released, and they didn't let corrections know that that person was released. He went out and committed a crime there. That's kind of one of those things there, but you would hope that you would have a greater level of communication with your stakeholders, but I mean, we're still struggling with that today, but I'm hoping that would get better. My relationship with law enforcement is kind of an interesting thing there. You know, right now we have lots of young individuals that are in the community. As law enforcement officers, they have no idea of what they're dealing with. They don't have the type of training. We're trying to partner with them through Blackout Grundy and some other agencies that are in the community to try to educate them a little bit better. So rather than, you know, if you have an individual that's having a situation that is happening, that maybe rather than taking them to jail, maybe you're taking them to the hospital. But you know, unfortunately, you get law enforcement officers, like I said, that are young in their career, and usually it doesn't kick in their mindset until maybe 20, 25 years down the line there when they're ready to retire, that they understand exactly what they're looking at there. I think we can do a better job between corrections and law enforcement, Sheriff's Department, dispatch, to educate those young guys that has to be out there on the street, for those guys to be able to recognize that. One of the, I guess I would say one of the great proponents of that is Tony Thompson of the Sheriff's Department. He gets it. He gets it because he's become the de facto mental health center for this whole region, because he has a 262-bed jail, and we don't have the opportunity to send individuals to MHI. There's fewer beds in emergency rooms or mental health units. Lots of mental health units have closed down in the regular regional hospitals, so they usually wind up in jail. The Blackhawk County Jail's budget has skyrocketed because of the need. Tony understands the need for having a psychiatrist that is working in this jail, making sure those individuals get the right kind of medication there, and then maybe working with corrections or different agencies to maybe divert them out of jail. I take a lot of individuals that wind up going to jail before they're sentenced, what's called pretrial. I supervise those individuals from residential care facilities and sometimes rehabilitation homes until they're sentenced there. I kind of ferry those guys there from one step to the next step of their whole process of initial appearance, their arraignments, initial appearances, final pre-trials, and maybe a jury trial. Because a lot of times individuals don't have the ability to clearly think about those things there. So, I mean, I'm kind of a go-between there. But we have a adult crisis stabilization center, which is out next door to Country View. It used to be the detention center. And rather than taking individuals to to the hospital where, like I said, beds are limited. You take them out there and they can get a reset out there. That is a good resource that we have here. There's not that many crisis stabilization centers around the state, but it's a great cost savings. Anytime anyone that has mental health issues or crisis going on, anytime they go to the emergency room, and generally they don't have insurance, they usually cost anywhere between $10,000 and $20,000. So when my phone goes off, which it goes off on a daily basis there, if I have an individual on the phone and they're having a crisis situation there, first thing I try to do is I try to problem solve with them there. If I can't get their problem solved in a satisfactory way for them, then I'm trying to get a hold of somebody to see if they'll take them to the crisis stabilization center. Because I figure if I can do that, rather than having that person, just go to the emergency room. If I can do that, I'm saving each one of you tax dollars. It's a simple thing there, but when you start talking about rural communities, we don't have enough. We don't have enough probation officers, or we don't have enough social workers throughout the state that would do that kind of thing. You do have crisis hotlines and around the state, but a lot of people just don't know those, don't necessarily know those resources there. So, and we're really blessed here in Blackhawk County to have those resources to try to help these individuals get to the places where they need to get. And a lot of times emergency rooms are not the place for them. It could be something that me and you would consider minor, but I mean, it's a major thing there when, you're struggling to have a roof over your head, you're struggling to eat, you might have some kids involved, you might have a significant other that's involved in a situation. Like I said, what seems to be a minor situation for us there is a major situation for someone else there. So I just take a simplistic approach to working with individuals that are mentally ill. I don't try to, sugarcoat things there. I don't try to make things a lot more than what they are. A lot of it is problem solving. A lot of it is cognitive thinking or critical thinking skills that individuals never learned. Or if they did learn them, they just kind of throw them in the closet somewhere, and they occasionally need to be thoroughly massaged there to be able to pull those things out, dust them off there, and say, oh, this is a lot simpler than I thought it was there. So, I get it. Get a lot of calls from former clients, and I help those guys problem solve. And I think that's more probably the biggest savings I think that I'm able to accomplish is taking place at right now. So, as I get closer to retirement, I kind of struggle with that a little bit. Thinking, my wife says I need to change my phone number, and it's like, no, I don't think so, because I know that helping individuals problem solve that can't do that on a consistent basis, or they're not sharp enough to do that. That's going to start costing us a lot more money than it already is costing us there. So, but I enjoy doing that. I mean, that's been part of my life there for the last 35 years there, and I really enjoy doing that. This area has changed right around here in Church Row. Like I said, recognizing what you're looking at is everything. We have a high population of individuals that are transient. They go from month to month, being able to try to figure if they're going to have that same roof over their head. I know that I have had clients that live right in this area and they do fine there, but some of them don't do fine. That are correctional clients. So, keep that in mind when you're over here for your own safety. That doesn't mean go out and be scared there, but that just means that, maybe when you're talking with an individual there, just be aware who you're talking to, what maybe they're going through, their struggles. It could, just the little things that you say might encourage them to do a little bit better about themselves there in the community. So I don't know if this has been very helpful for you, but being aware of what your surroundings are, being aware that everybody has a story, being aware of mental illness. And a lot of people think that mental illness is a stigma. I try not to treat it as being a stigma because everyone knows someone that has some type of mental illness. A lot of people try to hide it. A lot of people don't rightfully recognize, I was depressed here, I was depressed there, I had situations of trauma. They don't recognize those things there, so they don't recognize how they got to that point. So, I mean, I would challenge you guys there to just kind of look back on your life there, and when things were maybe a little bit tougher in your relationship, or things were a little bit tougher at work, getting out of bed, just going through the regular functions of life there. If you can recognize those things there and do something about them rather than ignore them and just keep going there, because you never know how you're going to be able to impact someone there, because you might have a story, or you might be able to relate to what they're going through. So you guys can help out keeping that dollar cost down there for individuals going to emergency rooms there by just, hey, have a good day. Just being positive in any given situation. So, does anybody have any questions?
Dwayne?
Yeah.
You talked about the patrol officers. Didn't they start a program where they had a third person ride with them to help facilitate understanding what's going on the streets?
We had one 30 years ago, or 33 years ago, didn't do anything with it. They're trying to do one right now. It's kind of a strange time to do that right now, because you got COVID going on. You have your funding streams that are not necessarily clear. When I say funding streams, money. Money to have individuals that you can train to do those jobs with police officers there. You get them trained, they go out with officers. They might last at the job for a month, 2 months, and then you have to do the process over again there. I hope that's going to work. I mean, I really do.
That's the reason I asked the question, because my next door neighbor is a police officer, and he's a wonderful person. He's a wonderful family man and all that stuff. So anything we can do to support them,
absolutely,
while they're doing the job,
absolutely,
100%.
Absolutely. I mean, if any one of you guys want to volunteer to ride along and just be a ear, I mean, because you have a wealth of knowledge. I mean, I look at most people inside here, they're my age or older, and I mean, you are a wealth of knowledge just by the simple fact that you've lived to be the age that you are. You have some answers that those guys don't have out there. Maybe they don't want to listen to a police officer or a social worker. Maybe they want to listen to a regular person there. So, I mean, if you don't have anything to do, I mean, if you're just answering the phone or just talking with individuals, I mean, those are things that you can do to help your community.
Yeah, I have a couple of parts of the question. First part, what's your caseload like, and how has that varied over the years, and do you think it's manageable, obviously, or not? And then the second part, what do you think are the best, if you talk about cost savings and reforms of the system, what do you think are like a couple of things that you, after your long career, would you suggest that would help a lot?
My original caseload was about 120 people. I've seen those guys either, the majority of them, probably 80 of them, I saw weekly. Then I saw some people every other week, and probably 20 of them every other week, and then I saw some people once a month. My caseload, since I've got a little bit deeper into mental health, is usually, it's supposed to be 20 to 25 people. It's like 40 right now. We've had some unique situations in the mental health unit. We had an individual that was off, so I managed 2 caseloads here probably this whole year. So I'm kind of a little bit stir crazy, but she's back to work and we're doing well. What was the second part?
The second part, like, what reforms, like overall system reforms, do you see that could be impactful?
Well, we've had some system reforms, which I don't know if they're good. We're making them work because it's a moving target. You had a residential care system which was hodgepodge for the last 25, 30 years, meaning there were county homes throughout the state. And they used to have the ability to have individuals in those county homes there that they were able to provide them services. In recent years, within the last 4 years, those county homes or residential care facilities have been told to reduce their populations from anywhere from 90 to 100 people down to 16 people and stay profitable. So if they weren't able to do that or able to retool themselves, they're not in business anymore. I know a lot of residential care facilities that are not in business anymore. What's been told by the state is you can have what's called a habilitation home, but you would have to have an ample amount of staff to be able to meet these guys' needs there. So there needs to be someone there first, second, and third shift to a certain extent of time there, but then you have to make sure that you have the type of training that you need to be able to meet these guys' needs. For the most part, those habilitation homes are not profitable. At the same time, you have individuals that get trained, they work in these habilitation homes, and you know different people that work there. We've had church members that work there, and normally what happens is, there might be 2 or 3 people to get hired. One person, or at least 2 or 3 people work there for a short period of time. They usually get overworked, and then they go find something else to do. So it's kind of a revolving door. So the quality of service is kind of difficult unless you have really dedicated individuals. It's kind of tough right now. I don't envy any of these agencies. A lot of agencies have fallen off because of that. And it's made it really difficult for Department of Corrections because they don't have to necessarily take individuals with criminal backgrounds. They just take individuals with brain injuries or intellectually disabled individuals. They don't take individuals that have brain injuries, intellectually disabled, and criminal histories all the time. So it's become difficult for me. But I rely on the relationships that I've built over the last 30 years there, so that I can just pick a phone up there and usually I can call someone. I can usually talk them into taking one of my clients because they know what I'll do if I need to do to be successful with them. So I have that luxury. There's not a lot of agents out there that have that luxury to be able to do that. So it's kind of tough.
How do they become profitable?
What's that?
How do they become profitable if
They don't. They don't. Not it.
16?
They don't anymore. I'm on a board of a residential care facility now that used to have 90 individuals in it there, and they've moved from 90 to 16 people. We've had to retool to either buy properties and move part of that 90 population into these rehabilitation homes there, and then we have to hope that the individuals that we hire would stay with them there. But I can see every month there when I have a big list of people that have resigned, and we're rehiring different people there, and the training that goes into it. It's really tough right now. But you know, that's not the name. The name of the game is to you know, reduce property tax in the state, and to say that you're saving the taxpayers money, but it's not necessarily so. I mean, there's a cost to it. I mean, there's a big cost to it there. I personally don't want to see individuals that are mentally ill sat in this corner over here in a cardboard box put around them, you know, out of sight, out of mind. I don't want to ever see that again. I've seen that before in my lifetime, and it's not a pretty picture, but I mean, we're kind of going in that direction. We really could learn by some of the mistakes that we make there, but we're making kind of the same mistakes that we made 70, 80 years ago. So, it's pretty tough, so.
I'm just curious, since the detention center isn't there anymore, what do they do with the kids?
They go to the detention centers in Des Moines and Cedar Rapids. There was a long-term detention center, and that's still out there. But if you are a person that is like getting ready to go to court or something like that, or you have court dates down the line, they'll send you to Cedar Rapids, they'll send you to Des Moines. They have regional sites that still take our individuals there, or they might send you to the training school there while you're pending court. So, questions?
I'm curious about these medication homes.
Habilitation.
Yeah, okay, so it's just a regular house?
Looks just like your house.
Okay.
Four bedrooms, everybody gets their own bedroom. They have staff that come in. So,
Yeah, I was wondering about the staff, because the staff has to be there 24/7. So is it the same staff, or do they have like half a day and then another staff person comes?
well, one staff might work an 8-hour shift, and then somebody else might come in, and then somebody else will come in. So, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah,
think-
there's one down the street from me.
2 doors down from me.
There's 2 doors down from Chris. There's one other one around the corner from me. I mean, they're all over, and you don't know it. If you see cars coming in the driveway, and somebody else leaving, and somebody walking in with a book bag, usually a college student, or you know, someone in their early 20s, or maybe older than that. That's just usually a staff member that's helping someone that's intellectually disabled. So, then that's the way that's supposed to be. They're supposed to blend in your community. I mean, they're, you know, a rich fabric.
I'm sure
of
there's
the
more
community.
where I live.
Yep. Chris has nice neighbors. I mean, they sit on the curb. They
want to help me.
they want to help them.
They want to mow
They-
the lawn.
Yeah, they want to mow the lawn.
Help.
They're right out in the community, and you just don't know it. So, but like I said, recognizing is everything. So, any further questions? Because I think is it band?
Huh?
Is it band today, or
I don't know.
band the light, or is it?
How does our church help? Do we
No
help
band
by,
today.
when they come and need gas or food, we give it to them? Is that helping them,
Yes.
or is that helping someone else?
Providing a gas card there for someone to be able to go to a medical appointment, that's huge. Providing them food when they just come out of the hospital and they had a mental health experience there where they lost their EBT card, that's huge.
Are we doing enough? Is our church doing enough.
Our church does a very good job of that. I can't say that about a lot of other churches in the community because they're not aware.
Okay.
They're not aware of those needs there. So, and that kind of goes hand in hand with us being in the neighborhood that we're in. I mean, we're doing missional things there all the time there. You know, our community meal, and it helps. It really does. So yeah, we ought to be proud, and we ought to be very happy with the assistance we're able to help these individuals here throughout this side of the river. So
EPI is developing a new one on Newell Street, you know about that one? It's a bigger building than usual, so I'm wondering how many they're gonna house.
that might be a rehabilitation site, and that's a toughie too. There used to be what's called rehabilitation sites where you send individuals that had brain injuries or intellectually disabled, so that we give them different activities they can do throughout the community. Well, there are different rules and regulations that go along with that now.
Sure.
So to be able to traverse that is kind of tough. But if they're developing a bigger area, that's what that's about. Kind of like Newell Post right up on on Sager, Sager and Tiffany. That's what that's all about.
Okay.
So yeah.
Is there a way that we can, as individuals, like, have a person that we would make sure they were eating, or make sure they had a gas card, or, you know, something like that?
We use a clearinghouse called Love Inc. To be able to
Monitor a little bit.
to kind of monitor a little bit there. What the process is that individual would be able to get in contact with Love Inc. Love Inc. would contact the church and say, okay, I'm going to send such and such person over here to pick a gas card up. They just have to show identification and proof of their appointment. Is how that goes.
What about for an individual person? Like they have the soldiers where you can send.
Actually, we have some shut-ins right now here at church that probably could use a little bit of help there, but that's another subject there that we kind of struggle with. But no, you could probably contact EPI or Goodwill or Full Circle. I mean, they might want to hire you if you contact them.
I'm retired, I don't wanna be hired.
But the thing is,
But I wanna help.
and you could work as much as you wanted to, or as less as you wanted to. You know, everybody is struggling out there right now with good employees, people that are used to working every day or working at all. So, yeah. But you know, volunteerism is kind of a lost art right now, and yeah, if you contacted anyone with any of those agencies there, they would be happy to talk with you about that. Extremely. And like I said, they would try to probably hire you. I mean, even though you're talking about volunteering, they would say, well, you want to put an application in? And it's like, no, I just want to volunteer. So, questions? Well, I'd like to thank you guys for coming to week 4 of mental health, and recognizing is everything. Thank you.
Yeah.